Okay, we're ready to go.
Good to go.
Good to go. Okay. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Foster. It's lovely to be here.
Great to see you. Where are you now? You're in California.
I'm in California. Yes, I'm in my home in California.
There you go. Okay, I actually want to start by starting from the present and then going back to do things a little bit differently. But to prepare for tonight's talk, I did read with great interest, The Road to Happiness is Always Under Construction.
Bless you. Thank you.
Which is your memoir, and it's very revealing and very honest. But I thought the title was very significant because I suspect that's how you've always lived your life. The road to happiness is always under construction. Is that your philosophy? You're sort of open and you never give up and you keep going.
Oh, absolutely. That's that's essential. Talk about essential. That is one for me. And it just keeps going. I mean, who knew about all the stuff that was happening to all of us, COVID and all this. It's better be open because who knows what's coming next.
It's coming. And what I also was very interested in your recent YouTube greeting, I think primarily to Dallas fans, in which you were in that room and it was raining out and nobody was there. And you said, we have to sort of use our inner resources at this time. And it felt to me that you had inner resources to draw on.
Well, yes, to get through this life, I think everyone chooses. I do. I choose every day. It's how you want to live your life and how you want to get through the best way, being the best person, sharing with other people, giving to other people. It's a choice, and a choice that I've made every single day of my life. How do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? And
it's open. So the book's never closed. The book
exactly.
goes on. The book goes on.
Exactly. That's what's lovely about life. It's open every single moment of every day. It's open.
But what I got from the book too is you're sort of a philosopher, and you do like to give advice. you like advice. You like telling people what you've learned and sharing it with them and see if they might come along with you, but not in a dictatorial way. But you do give advice.
I do. People ask me quite often what I would do if this was, happened to them or whatever. And with love, I tell them what I would do. I don't tell them what they should do. I just share moments in my life that could be of help. Never tell people what to do. Don't talk to my kids, though.
You don't do that. You don't do that. But you do share. You're very open about what you're feeling and what you've experienced.
Sure. Like a lot of fans have asked me, like, that they have little situations or problems. They just talk to me. And one of the first things I tell them is to get a little gratitude journal. I call it my gratitude journal. And I say, write down 3 things every morning that you're grateful for. And then the feedback I get is amazing. They said, we never thought of that. And we just get up in the morning and go through our day and don't think about things. And we're not grateful. But now they have, and these are guys mainly, they write in their gratitude journal. And it's so sweet to hear their stories. It really is sweet. So I didn't tell them what to do. I gave them an idea and they chose to do it.
We of course have to talk about Dallas because that's what you're best known for. But before Dallas, and I'll bet I'm the first interviewer who's really asked you this. But before Dallas, you were on a show that made history, and you played a character people would not know about it if they didn't know about it on All That Glitters. That is now extremely important. But you and that show were way ahead of the curve. Am I right?
Well, it wasn't me. It was Norman Lear. Norman Lear has a mind that is so far advanced. that when he came up with this idea, nobody thought I played a transsexual, and the rest of the cast, the women were the executives, and the guys were the assistants, the secretaries. And so they had great lines. Barbara Baxley was in it. Eileen, God, I can't remember the last name. Anyway, Eileen Gillette, Anita Gillette. And so anyway, the women in the executive offices, when the guys would leave to get coffee, they'd say, "Great ass." And so it was a total role reversal. And this was 1977. So it was far ahead of its time. And certainly for me to play transsexual was Eileen Brennan was in it. Amazing David Dukes. So that was amazing. I remember walking into Norman's office and I said, "Thank you very much for hiring me to be in the show. But why did you cast me?"
Yes, I would like to ask that question too. You would not be the first actress that would come to mind for playing a transsexual.
Nor me. So I asked him, and because I was very curious, and obviously, and so he said, "Because you're so feminine," but then I walked out of the office and I thought, what does this mean? I still don't get it. But then I asked him, and this is a tribute to Norman. I said, "Norman, I don't know a transsexual. And when I work, I want to make sure that I do it properly and I represent the transsexual community properly." So he said, done. He flew a transsexual to Los Angeles from San Francisco. And I met her, used to be a him. I met her. We got along so great. We spent the entire day together. We both had notes about how to play the character. And she told me the most amazing stories. And from that day, I thought I will never judge anybody for anything they do and they choose to do in their life, because the stories that she told me were amazing, still amazing. I remember the conversation clearly.
And it helped you to play the part and to understand the character.
Well, it's like anybody. We've all got stories, every single one of us. And I want to know those people. I want to know, who are you? And I wanted to respect her, especially because I didn't know anything about that. And I wanted to be respectful as an actor. So that's what I did. Thanks to Norman.
That was an extraordinary opportunity, and I think it will be written about as the history of sexuality in television is discussed. That's a very important subject. And you Norman Lear, but you played the role. You're a sort of pioneer in that sense. So congratulations. I think it's fascinating. I didn't know about it before I started doing some research. But now, of course, Dallas, which you say in your book, when you auditioned, you had a sense, I think you called it female intuition, that after the audition, your life had changed.
I did. And they'd already cast. I'm sorry.
That's you and Larry Hagman and Patrick Duffy were the mainstays of this great show. And so we have a great surprise for you and for our audience, live audience, and the people who will be streaming and looking at this in the weeks and months and years to come. But your co-star Patrick Duffy is with us tonight. So Patrick, well, please say hello and join us. Patrick, are you there?
Hi, my sweetheart.
Oh my God, my other Linda.
You're so blessed, to have two Lindas in your life.
Oh
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I've got bookend Lindas. Linda, you're responsible for this relationship.
Yeah, it's your fault.
My fault.
Yes.
Could you explain that?
Well, this was 2 years ago. A couple of years ago, and it was at an event. Large event in LA. I was living in New York at the time. I'd just come to LA and somebody said, "Oh, Linda Gray is here." And I thought, Linda Gray. And for those of you, I had had the privilege of doing a movie of the week with Linda years before, fell in love with her, hadn't seen her in a long time. So I bolted across the room. No Linda at the table, but there was, third, fourth, fifth best was Patrick. So I got stuck talking to him, and I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm so grateful Linda had a small bladder because she went to the ladies' room and I was the only one there. And this Linda and I then got to talk, exchanged phone numbers of mutual friends, started texting when the COVID hit, had a COVID romance for, months and months, and have been together ever since. Thank you, Linda.
Take full
Thanks, Linda.
responsibility. I love it.
Just by the way, I was listening to the
And we
interview.
should introduce, this is Linda Purl, who is a fine actress and singer in her own right, not on Dallas, but on
That's
terrific
right.
shows as well.
Oh, she's
And
amazing.
I must
Yes.
say, I was listening to your interview.
Yes.
I believe everything you always say, but for some reason, I always heard you telling me and Larry exactly what to do. It didn't sound
Because you
like
behaved
a
badly.
proposition or a suggestion. We referred to her, when Larry and Linda and I would go out, we referred to, well, Larry, you and I'll go and we'll take Mother with us. Because she was always telling us what to do and how to behave, and stop that, you guys, you're not going to do that. And
But I'm sure after all these years have passed, and Dallas remains one of the most popular shows in the history of television, and the Who Killed JR was seen by more than 90 million people,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
most watched episode in the history of the medium.
Mhm.
As the years have gone by and you think back, what are some of the ingredients that were responsible for making Dallas the sensational cultural product that it was?
Well, you have one of them as your guest on the show right now. As much as Larry and myself and people were looked at as the male people on the show, Dallas was a female-driven series. The matriarchal construction was definite and on purpose. That Mama ruled the roost at South Fork, and all of the women took a leading role in the relationships. And I think that's why Linda was so exemplary playing Sue Ellen. She started at the bottom of the food chain in terms of her position on the show. I think she had one line in the pilot, the first pilot episode or something, like "more sugar in your coffee, JR," or something like that. And by virtue of the character she played and how she played it, that female character kept rising in the cast until it became one of the essential elements to the success of the show. And on top of that, I was able to get two of the best friends I've ever had in my life for 40 years, which would be.
But it is extraordinary that the three of you bonded personally as well as professionally.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love
you
this
were
one.
really crazy about each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
No acting, you really liked each other.
And
I
it
wonder if that didn't,
continues.
and that continues. But
Thank
Linda,
you, Pastor.
you played a complicated character.
Yes.
What was your attitude toward her? Did you like her? Did you like Sue Ellen? Did you grow to like her? Did you question some of her choices? Did you struggle with her choices?
Linda, sweetheart, can I interrupt one quick second? Linda and I have to go. And,
Yes.
and I've heard you answer that question before, and it's the same old stuff. So,
Thank you, Patrick and Linda. Thank you so
Nice
much.
to see all of you. Hi, Michael. Bye, Linda.
I love you
Lots
both.
of love.
Bye, Linda.
Love you,
Bye,
Magda.
Patrick.
I
I
will-
love
Take
you.
care.
I love you, and I'll text you and call you tomorrow.
Please do. Bye, Linda. Bye, Patrick.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
You too. You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you both. Thank you.
What a sweet, sweet surprise. Thank you very
Well,
much, all of you.
But
Lovely.
Sue Ellen, as I was reviewing some of the episodes from the show to prepare for tonight, she's a complicated, difficult woman in many ways. And there's a darkness in her, a real darkness and a strength.
Yep.
How did you feel about her? And did your feelings about her change over time?
Well, that's what I loved about her. And that's what I loved about doing a long running series. Because in the very beginning, I had nothing. And that's what I tell new actors, just don't, no small roles. So I was in Texas, never been to Texas in my life. I had no idea. I remember looking at it, thinking, this is brown and boring, the city, and it was terrible. And I was away from home, my family. And the only one that knew Dallas was Mr. Hagman, who was a Texan. So he would drive us around in his bread truck and introduce us to bars and Mexican restaurants. And so I had nothing to do. Sue Ellen didn't have many lines. And it gave me an opportunity to create Sue Ellen Ewing. It gave me an opportunity to go to Neiman Marcus and sit there and listen and watch the women that I was going to portray, a very wealthy Texan. And so I absorbed, and I was thrilled because it gave me that opportunity. I would listen and watch what they wore, watch what they ate, watch them talk about, or listen to them talk about their husbands. And one funny line is they said, "Oh, we have to go home now because we have to fluff and fold." And I heard this conversation and I thought, what is fluff and fold? I thought it meant do the laundry. They had
Yes.
fluff the laundry and fold the towels or something. No, it meant that they had to fluff and they had to fold and they had to be beautiful. And I loved that. And the other thing, I went into a ladies' room one evening, and this lady opened a Judith Lieber bag, and inside was a lipstick and a gun, a Derringer. And I looked down and I said, "Excuse me, is that a gun?" And she said, "Of course it is. This is Texas." And so all this yummy dialogue was being given to me, even when I didn't have any dialogue of my own on screen. It was delicious to find out, why did I marry this guy? This is not a nice man. I wouldn't marry him. And I asked them to bring in Martha Scott to play my mother, because I wanted the audience to know why she chose this ridiculous man, interesting, rich man. So I loved the research. Like Foster, you have done amazing research already, but that's how I do my research for the character that I'm playing. Who is she? What she did? What is she doing here? She was Miss Texas, so that meant she had to be born and raised in Texas. And so that was a challenge for a California girl. And on, but it just developed. And as Sue Ellen developed, society was developing as well. It was no longer the submissive little wife. This was a powerful woman. Society was changing. And I made sure that producers knew that she wasn't going to drink, and she wasn't going to keep having affairs and drinking. It was boring. And I said, when an actor gets bored, the audience knows.
And then so she changes and she becomes a businesswoman.
Yes.
And she develops. Did you, as you're speaking, did you contribute to the development and evolution of the character? Did you make suggestions to the writers?
I did. And sometimes they were interested, and sometimes it didn't fit in with the wholeness of the whole script, because there were so many characters interwoven that if I made a suggestion that didn't work with their plan, their master, the Bible, that they were lovely and they listened, but they went in another direction. But I hung in there. I hung in there a lot.
But Sue Ellen became a very savvy businesswoman.
Yes. She was around business so far. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
That's very different from a woman who was drinking and having affairs all the time. She changed her tune.
Yes, but, because I remember clearly when I went into the producer's office and I told them, I'm tired of this. I said, this is boring to me. And I said, she's drinking and having affairs and drinking. It's boring. So they were patronizing and they literally patted me on the shoulder and they said, yes, but darling, you do it so well. And I thought, I'm going to punch him out. That's crazy. And then they said, okay, we're going to take you down. And I said, okay, how far? And they said, down. And then the next season, I was drinking in an alley with a bag lady, and I loved it.
Then she changes. Then she goes back up.
Yep.
actually on the show, I think your accent was the best Texas accent and the most consistent.
Thank you.
I mean, you really worked on your accent. You sounded like a woman who would go to the tea room at Neiman Marcus. Whenever I go to Dallas, I do go up there because it's a fascinating social history. You don't want to miss that room at Neiman Marcus.
Have to go there. Yes, have to.
Go there. Lots of social research. Do you have to like a character to play her, or do you just have to understand her?
Well, ideally, it's both. I want to like them in a way that I can get inside. I want to like them. Not everybody's bad. There's some redeeming values in everybody. So if I had to play Sue Ellen, I had a choice early on. I could just be the bitch. I could be just boring and bitchy. And I chose not to do that because everybody has sort of waves. It's like the book, it's under construction. So we can't just be one note. I didn't want to play her like that. And I remember early on, I thought, I see it could be a trap. So I remember being very vulnerable. And that helped soften the character. And she could still be strong, but she could be vulnerable. That was more interesting to me than playing her one note.
Did you understand why she stayed with JR?
That was a tough one.
I suspect you would not have.
No. And I remember having conversations off camera with Mr. Hagman. I said, what the hell am I doing with you? And so I think this is how I may probably rationalize, is that her mother, Martha Scott, taught her to marry the richest man in Texas. That was essential for mom, because mom wanted to be well looked after in society. It was like, my daughter married so-and-so. And so that's how she was raised. And on the other hand, JR was raised to marry the prettiest girl. And he went after Miss Texas. So that does not make a happy marriage to begin with. That's my interpretation. You don't go after the richest man or the prettiest girl, whatever, and have a happy marriage.
It starts with a faulty premise. It's a faulty premise on both sides.
Exactly. So once I wrapped my head around that, so you don't go into it with any degree of love, which was a perfect premise for the fights and all this stuff that went on. But I think basically there was a glimmer, a seed of love. And it just was there. There was some kind of chemistry that kept bringing them together again. And it made for a better script. So I think that's exactly
ultimately you feel they do care for each other beneath all the nonsense and the squabbling.
Absolutely.
That there is a core of feeling which humanizes him too, because Larry Hagman did not play the character on one note either.
No,
not at all.
That's what was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It was not just the one note in any way.
Correct.
Did you imagine that you would play this for 11 years and that it would, in a sense, be your professional identity?
Not at all. We were hired for 5 shows, and we were unemployed actors going to Texas, and 5 shows. That was it. And that was it was before the
hundreds of episodes.
Yes.
Hundreds. But when you left the show, was it time?
It was time. Absolutely. My contract, people said, oh, you left the show because, inventing whatever. My contract was up. And I felt innately, intuitively that it was time. I had done everything. She had grown. Everything that I had anticipated had been done. And I thought it had been done well. It was written well. I thought it culminated in a lovely ending. And I was whisking off to London with Ian McShane. Not a bad segue. So
for both
it
Sue
was-
Ellen and for Linda Gray, it was time to move on at that point.
Absolutely. I felt very strongly about it. And I thought if I had was invited to come back, I know what would have happened. I sense what would have happened. It would have been a more of the same. It would have been her going maybe backwards. And I think thought, no, I can't do it. She has to leave on a high note.
Yes. Then when you got a call for the reboot in 2011, was it? 2012.
Well, we got the call in 2011. Yes.
2012. Was that the right time in your life and career to revisit Sue Ellen?
It felt right, and it was a lovely surprise. I remember Patrick and Larry. We were the ones that were we were chosen to come back, the three of us, and we were like 5-year-olds. We jumped up and down and called each other. And did you get the call? Did you get the call? And we were very excited. But it had been a lovely 20-year hiatus. And so we thought, oh my God, what a gift. We got to play the same characters 20 years later. Now, I don't know whether that's ever happened to another actors, three of us ever. I don't know. It probably
rarely,
has.
if ever. Rarely, if ever.
Good. That's perfect.
Yeah, rarely, if ever. But you were all older then, of course, 20 years older. Was it difficult to play older as being older? But from your book, I think aging doesn't have any impact on you at all. It just doesn't.
Somebody's sorry.
So it wouldn't have mattered. Yes, Sue Ellen was in 2012 was not Sue Ellen in 1978, obviously.
Correct. But the interesting thing, we all asked to see a script because a script would be, we thought if it was not up to par 20 years later and the characters were not more developed, we didn't want to do it, frankly. And then we asked to see the script, of course. And so we all read it and called each other and said, okay, let's go. And I made a suggestion about Sue Ellen running for governor. And they kind of looked at me like, oh, is she telling us what to do? And I thought she has to come in powerfully. She can't be anything other than powerful. And she had to be an equal, in my mind, to JR 20 years later. So I figured, okay, if she runs for governor, she knows all of his tricks, all of his business deals, all of his business cohorts, and all the good, bad, and ugly details of J.R. Ewing's life. So what better would be to have her run for governor? Loved it. So they said, okay, that's okay. So they allowed me to do that. And I was very grateful. And then one day they came to me and said, you have to lose the race. And I said, why? This is going to be great. And they said, no, because the capital of Texas is in Austin. And this is a show called Dallas, and we don't have enough money to fly you back and forth to Austin. So I said, oh my God, I have to lose. So then let me lose quickly, make it as painless as possible. So they did. They were great. We laughed a lot about that one.
When you started filming the show, were you aware or did you know that Larry Hagman was ill?
Yes.
Or you knew he was ill as you were filming the first episodes?
Yes, I did. We didn't know how ill, but I did a funny thing. We had to keep Larry alive. That was our goal. And because without Larry, we didn't have a show. So what I did is I hired a nutritionist in Dallas, a lovely, lovely lady. I hired her and I said, I'm hiring you. Larry's paying for you. And I want you to be his nutritionist. I want you to cook for him. And I want you, because he doesn't eat well and he drinks still with the liver transplant. So I need you to keep him optimum. So I became her sous chef, cooked for Larry, and he was doing okay. So when I said to Larry, I said, okay, I have a chef that I've hired, you're paying. And her name is Nancy. She's a blonde, beautiful, and a Texan. I knew how to roll him in. And so he looked at me and he said, does she have big boobs? And I was typical Larry. I said, I don't know, but she's going to keep you alive so you can keep working, you idiot. So that's how it started. And we kept him going for a while. And then he kind of, I think he fell off the wagon. I don't know what happened. And then he just went down. But he hung in. He was playing the part he was put on the planet to play. I know it with my whole body and soul. That was J.R. Ewing / Larry Hagman. And he wanted to keep working until he died. And he did. God bless him.
He did till the very end. But when you look at some of the episodes from the reboot, and he's much older and clearly not doing that well physically, the acting has greater dimension and depth. His performance in the reboot is multidimensional. It's very moving, actually. His voice and his presence are deeper than they were when everybody was young and beautiful. It has a different level to it.
I felt that too. I really did. And it was very interesting working with him in that the reboot, because he did have that depth and he had a perception and there was this depth. It was just wonderful. And I just adored working with him. And even at the end, he was there, man, he was there.
It's probably some of his best work as an actor is some of those final episodes.
I agree with you.
I mean, terrific. I think, Linda, the audience would be surprised that when you had this earth-shattering success in the original Dallas, you were not what would be considered a youngster. You were already of a certain age, that you came to your career as an actress somewhat later because you were married and a mother, and you had a husband who wasn't encouraging in terms of having a career, but there was something in you that pushed for it despite the odds. And even at an age when maybe some actresses would have thought it's not going to happen for me, you were still in there trying, and you had an enormous success. Was that something within you that said, I'm not just going to be subservient, but I'm going to have a career of my own?
Yeah, it wasn't subservient, but I had a passion. My husband was the art director at Warner Brothers Records, and he wanted to be a cowboy / art director. And we moved to the country because that was his dream. And so we moved to the country. I'm still there. And that was his dream. And then I thought, isn't that wonderful? But I haven't fulfilled my dream. And it wasn't like, a tug of war or anything. There was a respect. It's like I was feeding horses and chickens, and we had a pig and 2 kids and him, and there was a lot. I was very, very busy. It also was one of the reasons that kept me grounded. None of this stuff, because I had to go home and feed chickens and clean the horse stalls. So the thing is I had a passion to act, and I wanted to do that. So when Norman Lear called me for All the Glitters, and I had done a few little jobs before that, I was like, oh, I love this. I'm so happy working and I love it. And it wasn't like I'm going to go out and show you and I'm going to do this. And I got my passion, my dream. It wasn't that at all. I was blessed to be given the show with Norman and Dallas, 5 episodes. And I was so excited. I really, really was. And I turned into Martha Stewart because before I left, I was gone like almost 2 months in those 5 episodes. And I'd never left my children. I mean, I cooked and froze casseroles like you couldn't believe. And, but I still, because I thought, okay, maybe I can do both. Maybe I can just make the casseroles. There was long before cell phones. My daughter even asked me, how did you raise us without a cell phone? And so, you look at times, I thought, oh, I wish I had a cell phone where I could Skype and FaceTime with them and have it more personal. And it wasn't, but we talked on the phone whenever it was possible. The hours were horrible. And yet we did, we survived and got through it, but it was tough.
But you had to be persistent though, to get what you needed for yourself. From your book, I gathered you were grounded, but you were persistent. You knew what you wanted, and you did go for it.
I did. I absolutely did, because I felt like I didn't want to go through my life saying I didn't try it. My grandmother was like that. She was like, go try that. You want to go to a movie? Nobody else likes it. You go. You travel wherever you want to go. You eat whatever you want to eat. And she was like always focused on take care of yourself and then you'll take better care of everybody else.
Did you ever feel that being so identified with Dallas that you ever wanted to say, well, yes, I can do Sue Ellen better than anybody in the world. That was terrific. But you know what? There's a lot else I could do too. I don't want to be known just as Sue Ellen Ewing. Did you ever have that feeling? Because you have an overwhelming success that dominates your career.
I do. And, in the beginning, after the original 11 years, it was challenging to get a job because, it was too identifiable. And that was challenging. That was like, wow, I never thought about that. But, I just, I persevered. I thought, okay, I'm blessed. It was, and it is still to this day, 40 years later, what a gift it was. So I honor it and I bless every part of it because okay, so I'm identified with Dallas. Am I upset? Never. Am I blessed? You bet. And am I grateful? Absolutely.
And you've had other experiences. I want to mention a few that our audience might not know, but you have a very interesting relationship to The Graduate. First, the original movie. I bet not many people know that the legs in the famous poster are not Anne Bancroft's, but Linda Gray's. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. It's accurate. I was paid $25 for that. I think it was $12.50 a leg. Anyway.
The famous leg that sort of captures Benjamin is your leg. Then fast forward many, many years, and Linda Gray appears as Mrs. Robinson in the West End and on Broadway.
Yes. And what a joy. Because I realized when they thought I was too old to play Mrs. Robinson. And so that was the challenge. I thought, wow, they think I'm too old to play it on Broadway. But I thought, I have 2 words that I love. Watch me. When everybody says, oh no, she can't do that. She's too this, she's too that, she's too blah, blah, blah. I just go internally, watch me. So I got the job and I went to London and I replayed, there were like 3 or 4 women who had played, I was the last one that played Mrs. Robinson. And Kathleen Turner and
Anne Archer, I think, did it.
Anne Archer played, yeah. And okay, blanking on names. Anyway, I was delighted. And so it was, it was another element of my life. It's like, okay, this is a challenge. I love challenges. This is another watch me. And I could sense that it's like, okay, here's a TV star from Los Angeles hitting the London stage. I felt it. And I thought, okay, that's my job. I just have to work my ass off and show them that I'm an actor and I can work as hard as they can, and I will. And I did. And I loved the work. I remember a woman came in and she was going to teach me the voice. I had to project to the tippy top of the theater. Now, I was used to the
Yes.
screen this big, and I had to project to the top. She would go up to the top of the theater, no mics. She would go to the top and say, okay, let me hear you. And gave me great exercises, wonderful ways to project, exercises to do. And I was so proud of myself from going here to there. And it was a challenge, and I took it. I did it. And that was amazing to me. And I thought, oh, isn't this lovely? And it was just with television, if you make a mistake, try not to. But if something happens, you get to do it again.
Yes.
Not often, but you get to do it again. In the theater, you make a mistake, you just keep going. And that was discipline that I loved. I absolutely loved it.
Did you feel that the British audiences accepted you? Was there some hesitation at first, as you say, Linda Gray, Dallas, prove to me that you can do this? But did you feel that you were accepted by your co-players and the British audience?
I felt a hesitation in the beginning, but the other thing that happened, Foster, that absolutely threw me, I was in the basement of the theater, the Gielgud Theater. I was in Vanessa Redgrave's old dressing room, which was a thrill for me. And somebody came, I was being fitted for a wig. And one of the crew guys in the theater came running down. This is before we even started. He came running down and he came in our dressing room and he said, "Oh, Miss Gray, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I said, what's happening? What are you sorry for? And in my mind, I thought, oh my God, one of my children, something. I couldn't calm him down. So he took us all up to his office. And that's when 9/11 happened. That was 9/11. I was in London, obviously couldn't come home. My children we were planning on, I had rented a little guest house for them to spend Christmas with me. And that didn't happen. And it was the most devastating moment of my life. I thought, oh my God. Well, and of course, who's going to the theater? They relied a lot on tourists. And so the PR did a wonderful job. They invited all the people in Germany and London and Italy to come, and they pulled it off. But I was a wreck, and all the Americans were staying in this hotel. But we were all like, what are we going to do? Our country, what's happening? What happened? And in London, they have 14 newspapers. They don't have just one. And the reporting was so wonderful and intense and explicit. And it was like this had never happened in our lifetimes in America. And the British were so wonderful and comforting because they said, we've been through it before. Hang in there. They
were very sensitive to you as an American citizen.
Absolutely. It was just brilliant. And I would see, the camaraderie and the togetherness in America. And I wasn't a part of it. I could just see it on television. And all the Americans that were in the hotel and the Brits were absolutely supportive. And, I've never seen such support in my life. So that was before we opened.
Oh,
So,
before you opened. Oh,
yeah, I was having the wigs, sort of done, fixed and done and made. And so we had a little late opening, and it was a little lumpy in the beginning because who was coming. And so it just seems, it's like I keep going back to the book title, Road to Happiness is always under construction. So we had a big construction thing there. And so we went ahead, the show must go on. And it ended up really, really wonderful. And we got our audience, and, we went through it, but it was.
Isn't Dallas, it's popular worldwide, but isn't it especially popular in England?
Yes. I think they were one of our biggest countries, the biggest fans were there.
Yeah. And as a result, you've been on the London stage more than once.
Yes, I have. I love it over there. I love the people. They're just authentic. They're real and wonderful. They love.
You were just in, speaking of not retiring, and I know you never will, you were just in Cinderella in London not that long ago, playing the fairy godmother 2 times a day for 6 or 8 weeks nonstop.
Now that was crazy. Because I had just finished, we had just finished the 3rd year of Dallas, the reboot. And then we had this time where they were deciding whether to pick us up or not. So we had this lull. And then finally they said, nope, we're not picking you up again. So my wonderful PR guy, who is a Brit, he said, well, we're going to put you back to work. So I went from Sue Ellen Ewing to the fairy godmother in a matter of 6 months. And I thought, what is happening? This is like crazy making. And it was wonderful. And it just kind of took me out of the bah humbug of people canceling this show. And so I was running around the stage with my magic wand and absolutely loving it. So for an actor, that was kind of a lovely contrast.
With a British accent or your own accent?
No, and yeah, I did my fairy godmother accent.
Oh, you did a fairy godmother accent.
Rhyme, and it was challenging for me to do the whole rhyme thing and the costume. And I should send you a picture. I'll send you a picture.
Yes, that's wonderful. Now, when you did the Graduate on Broadway, did you find the Broadway audience different from the West End audience?
I did.
You did.
I did. London was much more open and cheering me on. But I think in New York, they had already seen Kathleen Turner, and I think they'd seen it. They'd seen the film. They knew the film. They knew everything. And so I think I was kind of like, there she is, TV actor. And so it was kind of a different attitude.
But you've also directed, speaking of trying different things, you insisted, really, you put your job on the line because you wanted to direct some episodes of Dallas because you thought you knew, obviously you must have felt you knew the show so well, you could do a good job of directing it.
Well, I didn't want to be just like one of the stars of the show who wants to direct. I wanted to know what I was doing properly. And I had a wonderful teacher. Her name was, she was a female director, a French woman named Lillian Chauvin. And she was a tough one to work with, because she said, you're not going to direct until I tell you you're ready. And so she took me through everything, all the lenses, all the in and out, breaking out a script, everything. And she said, okay, you ready? And I was totally nervous. I was like, oh my God, this is like, I was totally out of my element. And yet I wanted it. I wanted to do it. I just wanted to be that lens behind and focus on everybody and blow it out.
You put your job on the line. The producers really didn't want you to do it.
No.
And they were ready to let you go. And Larry, your dear friend, said, you can't let her go because I'll leave too. Is that correct?
He did.
He did say that.
He did say that. Now, I don't know whether he said that. He may have said it. He may have said it to me. I don't know. whatever happened, Larry did. They fired me, actually, when I asked to direct. And they said, no, you can't direct. And so it kept going back and forth. I said, I don't want any more money. I don't want anything. I want to direct one episode in the next 52. They said no. And so they fired me. Anyway, Mr. Hagman did come in on his white horse, white hat. And he said, if she goes, I go. Well, that's what I don't know whether he really said that or not, but it
But you
sounded
did
wonderful.
get a chance to direct, though. Somebody said something because you got a
Yeah.
chance to direct.
So I got to do one, and I was so nervous because I knew they would be watching me under a microscope. So I got to direct, and I loved it. And so I got great reviews on directing. I felt really good. I was proud. My teacher was proud of me, and I was like, yes, I did it. And then I got more. Then I got to direct more. So it was not just that one.
Good.
And I loved it.
And this is not a surprise, but you were a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations. And aren't you the goodwill ambassador for the city of Dallas?
Yes, until COVID hit Dallas. But yes, I was. And I was honored to do that. And when I was with the UN, I went mainly to Nicaragua, and I was working with women and children's health issues. And I would sit on the ground with these wonderful women and talk about, their situations, and how are they dealing with their children, and it being a Catholic country. They didn't practice birth control, and they just kept having children, and the men weren't terribly responsible. And it was such an education for me on an entirely different level. I had such respect for them. And it was a learning and expansion, just a wonderful experience for me. I could not get over that. It was wonderful, and the people I met were the best. They.
You do charity work in Los Angeles, or you're active in community efforts.
I do.
An outreach program, yeah.
Yes, I do. I think to me, it's essential that you give back, because I feel personally, and so many of my friends, we've been so blessed in this lifetime that you give back. I loved. I was working early on with Meals on Wheels, and I went to Philadelphia. And, actually went in and helped with the food and packaging it and delivering the food. And I will never forget this moment when I was handing food to somebody who maybe didn't have a visitor that day. Maybe this is their only meal a day. And you hand someone food. It was unbelievable, the change that happened. I thought, how does this happen in America? How are we not looking after our people better? And that was a huge change for me. I thought, here I am in Nicaragua one week, and then I'm back in Philadelphia. And I couldn't believe, I thought, this is humanity we're talking about. This is taking care of people. This is grouping together. This is forming a global community. And then when COVID hit, I thought, what the hell is this? What are we doing? Staying in our homes and not reaching out and all this stuff. So it really scrambled my brain. I couldn't understand this.
You are immune to retirement, I'm sure. And
oh yes, immune to it.
Immune to it, never to retire. Can you tell us what is up next once we get out of this nightmare scenario? We seem to be edging out of it, but
yeah, a lot happened when COVID hit, because my son was diagnosed with AML leukemia, a blood cancer, and so in a way, I'm maybe one of the only people that was grateful for COVID, because that meant I didn't work. That meant I didn't travel around going to New York and London and doing panto and things. That meant that I was staying home. And so I was with him. I got to spend beautiful time with him. He lived in Northern California with his wife. And so I would go up and be with them as much as I possibly could. And so COVID allowed me the time to focus on him. And then my daughter gave her stem cells to him, which put him in remission. And he was cancer-free. And so it was beyond a miracle. And then a few months later, the cancer came back and he passed away of leukemia. So, yeah, that was, so it's been a really shitty few years. And I bless the time. So we had great together time. And we laughed and we cried and we giggled and reminisced. And so it's been a tough few years.
You're getting out of COVID, and I think we all are. I mean, you do have plans. You're working on a film, and you have plans for the future, of course.
Of course, but they're different plans. They're different plans. And I don't know what they are yet, because it just has taken my life and kind of spun it around. And it's like when you spin something around, you let go of it, it flies. You don't know where it's going yet. And I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But I know there will be a focus, and I will grab it and dance with it and know that that's what I should be doing. And but it isn't clear yet, but it will be.
It will be. I end where we started. The road to happiness is always under construction.
Yeah.
That seems to be a motif for your extraordinary life. It's been fabulous talking to you, Mark and Magda. I think we might have questions from the audience, but I love talking to you, Linda.
Oh,
But I feel I've known you for a long time.
Oh,
You
no, I
have
feel the
that
same.
ability. Well, I don't
For
know
all
you.
these little screens.
Yes, on these little screens, but I feel I've known you for years. You're so easy to talk to.
Oh, and you, thank you.
You're just
So
wonderful.
Bless you. And
Wonderful.
so are
Any
you.
questions?
I just want to know, is Deborah Renard online? And she was in Dallas.
Oh.
too. Deborah, are you
Debbie.
there?
Debbie Renard, yes. Is she there?
Maybe you just, I hear her, I hear something. Can you hear us? Wait a minute. I saw, and Deborah, is that you? Maybe it's a different Deborah. Well, she said she was going to get on and say hello to you. But it was so wonderful to have Patrick, though. I mean, I'm
It was
thrilled they
just
was able.
my
I've been working
sweetheart.
on that for a couple of days, so it's so
Good job, Magda. Good job.
Thank you. It was. I feel too like I know you. So if you come to New York, you must come and have lunch.
Oh, I would love it. It would be such a pleasure to give you a hug.
Oh, that's so great. That's great. Now, are there any questions from our audience? Anybody like to unmute and ask? Oh, no questions.
I don't
No
see any
questions?
questions written in the side there.
I guess
don't know if
people-
we were just so taken and so involved. I personally was so involved that this is Deborah Stone, the
Hi,
other
Deborah.
lamb. Hi. My heart opened up to you when you expressed, of course, the horrible experience of losing a son. I just wanted to let you know how sorry I am for your loss. And I know there's nothing like it. So I have no questions. I would just love to hear more, and I'm looking forward to reading your book, everybody. We must read
yes.
her book,
Can
okay?
Thank you
Right.
very much. How sweet. Thank you
Is
all.
that on Amazon? We could get it on Amazon?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
So, yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. Well,
You
I'd
know
like.
what?
Yes,
You
go
know
ahead.
what I would like to do? I would like to send you all a book and I will sign it to you.
Oh,
I
my
mean,
goodness.
there's
Oh,
a
that would
little
be great. So
stocking stuff.
okay, what I will do, I will get everybody's email and address who was here tonight. Just all of you, just send me a note with your request. It's magdacats@gmail.com.
I can't, I don't have anything.
No,
to
no,
write,
no,
so-
I'm talking to the audience so they could
Oh,
write to
you're talking
me.
to the audience.
No, I just want them to write to me and then I could get you to write to them. Well, anyway, we'll work it out. We'll work it
Well,
out.
what I meant, Magda, is I
Yes.
would like to send you and Foster and
Oh, that'd be-
Deborah and Mark a personalized one. I don't know
Oh,
how.
my- That's, oh, okay.
That's
Okay,
good.
that'd be wonderful. So I will be in touch with you in the next couple of days. And I'd like to invite our audience next Tuesday. We're going to have a fabulous person, a man named Jimmy Ryan, who's an incredible musician. He played with Carly Simon, writes some of the music, and he has some great stories about the Beatles that he backed up for. So I hope everybody comes, and you're welcome, Linda, to come if you like.
Of course, and I feel
Anyway.
my family.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. It's been a fabulous evening, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person soon.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, dear.
And
Be
thank you
well.
all very much. Thank
Have
you
a
for
very
inviting
healthy
me.
and happy holiday, everybody,
you.
and you too. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye, Foster.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Wonderful.
Bye-bye.